Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Podcast. I am joined once again by Levi chatting over. We are talking about fantasy football as we move here into week 4. How you doing today, man?
Doing all right, man. Doing all right. I benched Joe Burrow for Matt Stafford last night and won by 2 points on a meaningless touchdown. So feeling pretty good.
Hell yeah, that's a really good feeling. I, on the other hand, have incorrectly started or not started Daniel Jones twice in a row now.
Oh, so started him week 1, started him week 3, benched him week 2.
Precisely.
Yep, that's fun.
So this is a fun sport and really fun game here, fantasy football. We all love it so much. We are going to be trying to do this as often as possible, at least once a week, so I can get Levi on here to recap a little bit of what we saw in week 3, but really move ahead into what everybody wants to know as it's Tuesday heading into Wednesday, and that is who is real, who is not real, who might be a sleeper pickup that's going to break out, has yet to do so. We'll rehash some guys that and sort of see how they're doing. We'll tackle the ideas of like, well, it's kind of your fault for drafting him, so you only have met yourself to be mad at, things of that nature, so we can have a little bit of fun with it as well. But let's say we start with some real, not real, and I imagine inherently we'll probably throw in some week 3 talk to use as our basis for analysis. So you want to kick it off with whichever one you feel better about to start with, real or not?
Yeah, I'll start with what I think is the realest of the real, and that is Sam Laporta, breakout tight end. Like, if quarterbacks didn't exist, rookie of the year candidate Sam Laporta. Everything we thought preseason, he's going to be involved. He's the only tight end. He's necessary for the offense. He's good at football. And, look, things might change a little bit. Jameson Williams comes back. Rod gets healthy. Montgomery gets healthy. But look, he is the only tight end tied to this offense that matters. They're a high-scoring offense. Jared Goff inexplicably continues to look like a competent NFL quarterback. And if you have him, great. If you don't have him and you want him, I don't know that you can go get him now, but like, he's real. And like, on a more general bend, this is the year of the rookie tight end like we've never seen. Like, this is Sam Laporta is the best example, but this is the best start by a rookie tight end in NFL history.
Right. All right.
Quite literally. No exaggeration. First one ever, 5 catches, first 3 games. Yep. He's currently tight end 2.
I was going to say, I know him to be the tight end 2. I believe drafted in a lot of leagues no earlier than like the 8th round, anywhere from there to like the 10th round.
Well, I don't think I saw it. In both my auction leagues, he went for $1, and I want to say he was 12th, 13th round maybe. And that's not like where he went like 12th, 13th round. That's a $3,000 for first place league. Like, no one in that league doesn't know what they're doing.
Yeah. And
we all let him go. Yeah. Like, I'm going to look back at this and go, I have to look myself in the mirror and go, Njoku over Sam Laporta, huh? All right, good job, buddy. Like,
look like Tarzan, play like Jane. That is David Njoku to the max.
You seen that haircut? Kind of also looks like Jane at this point.
I don't know. With those white unis for the Browns, that was pretty fire, is my opinion. But I'm not going to take myself, and I'm going to help others who drafted Darren Waller anywhere inside the top 4 rounds. I'm going to help people feel, well, top 4 rounds for a league that I had like a ton of players in the league. But in a 12 team, you probably got him closer to 4th, 5th round for Darren Waller.
Eli drafted him in the 4th.
There you go. Yeah, I'm not going to beat us too hard into the ground for having him right now. He still has, I believe, the 3rd most targets among tight ends right now. That might have changed. I don't know if I looked that
I think better days are coming for Darren Waller. Like, I don't know that he's going to be tight end 2 the way I was hoping, because Sam Laporta is apparently. But I think there are better days ahead. There's only so many tight ends that run the amount of routes and get the number of targets he does. And
there's something almost like uplifting about the fact that the way that he didn't get catches in the last game was by dropping. And that sucks, and you hate to see it. But one, they ain't going anywhere else more than him moving forward just because he dropped a few balls. I'll tell you that. And two, at least it's not like he's not involved in the passing game. He couldn't get open. He was getting bracketed. There was none of that really going on. He was just
there's
a linebacking core in the league as well.
He's always done a lot of damage, like up the seam and in the middle of the field. And I actually think Wan'Dale Robinson coming back is going to open some of that up, because even though he's a little guy, he's not a beat you over the top. Like, he's not a Kadarius Toney clone. Like, he's more of a shifty little slotty wide receiver. And if he opens up some of that stuff underneath, you might see some of that down the seam work open up for Waller, which is what you're hoping for. But we just gotta pray Daniel Jones knows how to play football at some point.
I think he might. Let's keep moving for some real, not reals.
Tank Dell, I think I brought him up last time. Tank Dell is real as can be. Hyper productive in college, and he's hyper productive right now. And he's good. He's getting targets. He gets yards. He is a good football player. I thought C.J. Stroud was the best quarterback in the draft. I was real concerned after watching the preseason that I don't know how to watch football. And now I feel like I know how to watch football again, because he's clearly the best quarterback in the draft. Yep. Dude's shocking. And what I really like with him is that he stands in the pocket. The pocket's closing. He doesn't even look like it bothers him, and he just lets the ball go. Justin Fields should watch C.J. Stroud game tape.
Yep. He's going to
probably what should happen.
There's a few quarterbacks that could benefit from it. I think Bryce Young also would enter that conversation. Obviously, he was a little bit out, shown up a little bit by Andy Dalton being at least competent with this offense against a much better. Probably, yeah. He was very confident against the Seahawks defense that I still don't know if it's for real or not, but I'm pretty sure it's bad at this point, right?
If Andy Dalton is making Adam Thielen a wide receiver 1 in any given week, Bryce Young should probably feel bad about himself.
Well said. I think that's the right way to say that.
Yeah.
Next real, not real.
Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers is real. Like, I wouldn't have put my money on it like preseason. I've never been a big believer, but he got like 12 targets again or something. He got double-digit targets both games he was healthy. Like, I hate Jimmy Garoppolo. We've discussed this at length. I'm not a fan. But the ball gets there on time, and Myers, catches the ball, and he's not going to see a number 1 corner the rest of his career as long as he's playing with Devontae Adams. Right. So, and they can't run the ball. So I like Jacoby Myers. I doubt he's available, but if he is, I'd go put a bunch of money on him.
Yeah, he's still worth it. He has a pretty high floor with the volume. There's 2 guys getting targets on that team, and Hunter Renfrow is not one of them. The ghost of Hunter Renfrow.
No, Renfrow's done. Renfrow's done. He might be a mid-season trade candidate kind of deal. If someone wants to throw him a 6th round pick or something,
probably available.
Yeah, he probably is. There's nothing there. So the last reel that I'm going to give you is a negative reel. By the Derrick Henry and the Josh Jacobs drop. It's real. Jacobs showed up out of shape to camp, and he had flashes where he was getting a little better, but the team's not good. So he's not a top 5 running back. If you get lucky, he will finish as a bottom end running back 1, maybe. I see Jacobs more as a running back 2 at this point. And Derrick Henry is terrifying. Tajay Spears outsnapped him again. Now, granted, he was on the injury report with the toe thing, right? So basically, here's how I would treat Derrick Henry. If you have him, and you can sell him for 90% of what his draft cost was, right? Sell him. If you don't have him and you want to trade for him, if you only have to spend 70% of what his draft cost was, if you think he turns it around, I don't want either of these guys. I'm not making offers on him, but I'm also not going to fault someone who says, it's Derrick Henry. He'll get better as the season goes on.
The things that have caught up, I mean, for Jacobs and the Raiders, you already hit the nail on the head. There's 2 dudes that you feel comfortable with, and because they're getting peppered with a combined 30 targets a game between Devonta and Jacoby Myers. Devonta, I believe, had 20 targets in this last game where he put up $170 again.
That sounds right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So for those guys, is there off top someone you can quantify to be the equivalent of 90% of Derrick Henry, or perhaps 70%? Obviously 70% would probably include 2 dudes to fill out more spots. if you're going for Derrick Henry, it's probably because the running backs are dropping like flies, and an RB2 that is Derrick Henry at least has the 2 touchdown ceiling per game usually. The thing working against him, final thought there, that offense is putrid. Tannehill looks done. He's going to need a lot more protection than he's going to get all season long. And
offense is done. This is why, remember we talked about the first time I wasn't high on Hopkins.
On Nuke, yeah.
The target volume will not be there.
And I want to say for Nuke, who used to be one of my favorite players, like that he actually doesn't look that bad. He's just, what are you supposed to do? Like honestly, there's some plays like he still has the hands and the radius is my point.
Yeah, but this is the thing. There's a big difference between doesn't look bad and looks the same.
Yeah.
Right? If he had gone to Cleveland, he'd probably look fine right now because Amari Cooper would be taking away at least some of the coverage, right? He wouldn't be getting doubled every single time. They run the ball effectively. And Watson hasn't been great, but Tannehill looks like an old Zach Wilson so far this year. He's terrible. He's really, really bad.
Bad. Stationary bad quarterback is not a good, good place to be. Former wide receiver. But
yeah, Tannehill is like Flacco minus the arm at this point. It's ugly.
Yeah.
It's ugly.
Flacco minus the arm at this point too.
What say
this quarterback on the other side of that game with Deshaun, because he's a big time. I don't know if you have him in your not real as we move forward, but he's a big time question mark to me because the best game he's now shown in the last 10 games he's played is against the Tennessee pass defense.
Okay, so what I'm gonna say is so Amari Cooper should have been nuclear in this last game, and Deshaun Watson's line should have been about 10 points better. Because for some reason, Amari Cooper was out of bounds 1.5 feet from the fucking sideline. Which, listen, I heard someone one commenter, I can't remember who it was, basically say there should essentially be an age limit on NFL refs because what the shit did we witness this past weekend? But this was some of the worst officiating I've seen in the NFL in a long time this past weekend. Really bad.
I'm usually not a bash the refs guy, and I have to agree.
Yeah, I'm not a bash the refs guy either. It's a hard job, but that doesn't excuse you doing it exceptionally poorly, right?
I was pouring concrete, but those guys do it. So yeah. Anyway,
thank you. So Deshaun Watson, I think he's a QB1. I don't think you love him. You know what I mean? He's a QB. He'll sneak into being a QB1. He's going to play the whole season.
And so if you have, you're struggling right now because you're the imbecile who's got some form of Mac Jones, Daniel Jones, and maybe even Dak Prescott, Sam Howell. You're in that range of quarterback on your team, and you're feeling a little bit down because Jacoby Brissett might be in there. Dak has a ridiculous schedule upcoming. Do you see if someone's got Deshaun on their bench, how do you go ahead and get him? And if you have Deshaun on your bench behind a guy who maybe I don't want to get too dicey because a guaranteed guy that you have Josh Allen and Deshaun, let's say for instance, that guy, do you get rid of Deshaun and pick up some stuff?
So I am no longer willing to only roster one quarterback in fantasy football. Under no circumstances am I rostering one quarterback. And the reason is that so few people roster one quarterback now that it's not like the streaming options that are available in years past would be there. I am not in a single league with a single team that has one quarterback on the roster, and I'm including. I have Josh Allen on a team. I have a backup. I drafted Joe Burrow in the 5th in a league. I drafted Anthony Richardson in the 11th. I'm not carrying one quarterback. Yeah. So if Brock Purdy is still hanging out on your waivers and you're the Deshaun Watson owner, who also has a Josh Allen ahead of him, yeah, fine. If you happen to be in a league where you can go scoop up a decent backup quarterback that's good for 17 to 20 points in an emergency, fine. But what you don't want to be is the dude who's oh, goody, I get to roll, I don't know, Sam Howell is the only quarterback available on waivers who has any chance of succeeding this week. Because there's certain quarterbacks you can't play. You can't play Zach Wilson,
No.
right? Like at this
I don't think
point,
you can play Bryce Young when he's back.
no, you can't play Bryce Young. I wouldn't play Justin Fields till he shows something. I would, however, pick him up immediately if he hits waivers.
Yeah.
I'm not putting in a big bid on him, but I would immediately pick him up and put him on the bench.
It's real that he's bad at quarterback right now, but it's also real that he gets the Vikings, the Broncos, and one other cupcake-ass defense. The Raiders.
Also real that he was bad at quarterback last year and ripped off 7 games in a row that won you your week.
I meant bad at fantasy quarterback right now still. Because if you're the thing that gets me is if you rush 11, if you told me before the game Justin Fields was going to rush for 11 times in that game,
and only get 45 yards. Yeah.
Give me over 55 yards rushing for him for sure. I'll bet on 5 yards a carry for Justin Fields.
Sure.
It didn't happen. So let's move on to the quarterback conversation is real and one that I think we had here. But let's move on to another not real.
Okay, so not real. Mike Evans is not real. Now, I don't mean Mike Evans isn't a good fantasy asset. I mean Mike Evans is not going to score 20 points every week. Last night was a perfect example of Mike Evans isn't real, okay? Mike Evans didn't score any points until they went into soft coverage. He also dropped like 3 fucking gimmies of balls. Now, in PPR, he put up 17 points. But if you turned the game off early because you were tired, that would be very surprising to you. And it was just kind of nonsense. Baker, you started to see the wheels start to come off a little bit yesterday. They're going to come off.
Yeah.
And if Baker keeps just doing the just kind of chuck it deep thing, teams are just going to take that away, and then they're not going to have much else.
Yeah.
So
how fun is it that the NFC South right now has 3 teams that could potentially actually viably win the division. The 3 quarterbacks that will be starting for these people, for these 3 teams rather, are Baker Mayfield, Desmond Ridder, and now we're still looking at Jameis Winston until we know that Derek Carr's back. Those are the 3 things.
Are we saying with certainty Carolina can't win the division?
Not with certainty. Definitely not. I think the 2 wins for like 3 of those teams is definitely big now that they're 0-3. They're 0-1 in the division. I'm not saying no. Their price to win the division is at like, I believe, 2,800, 28 to 1. So if you are looking at all 3 of those the thing is like Derek Carr is going to come back.
So here's what I'm saying. I don't think they're winning the division.
Okay, good.
I don't. But like with Andy Dalton, like if they go Bryce Young's not ready, how hilarious would an Andy Dalton revenge tour look?
I don't know. I'm here for good God, I'm here for it.
Me too. But
if you bench Bryce Young,
this isn't terrible.
You turn Bryce Young's confidence into spaghetti.
Well, you also decided to throw an 8th grader on varsity. So, I don't know. Dude, I am shorter than short, but I don't go try to throw over 6'5" linemen, man.
100%. I think it was Chi-Chi McBride who said in Gone in 60 Seconds, you can't turn. He's talking to the woman he's like teaching her to drive. He's like, hell, woman, you can't drive. I can't swim, so I stay my ass out of the pool. Same concept.
Same concept.
The NFL. I would agree. Dude, if Andy Dalton, if the Red Rifle goes on his own tour, I'm getting a T-shirt. I'm probably going to make T-shirts and get in on that. So,
yeah, absolutely.
On the Andy bandwagon, you guys, if you want to. We're going to move on to the next not real. We're not talking trash on Mike Evans. He makes one-handed catches like there's nothing. But like, this is...
Yeah, that was incredible. That was one of the best catches I've seen. That was unbelievable. Ramondre underperforming to this degree is not real, right? He's getting opportunity. The offense looks significantly more competent than it did last year. They have played some tough teams. Like, they have played some tough defenses.
The thing is that like, if Mac hadn't done that well against the Eagles, at least when all was said and done, his stats were good. That's what I mean by done well. Like, he had a fine game in that one. Really, he just didn't look as bad as he did in the next 2 games where he's throwing behind dudes and you're not even sure which wide receiver he is throwing to. And granted, Pharaoh Brown isn't striking fear into the heart of the defenders that he's running towards, but like Mac is still making some really nasty throws. And so I guess my thing is just like the fear with Ramondre is just, it's not even Zeke. It's strictly like, if they can't pass at all, then they're going to be losing. So they're never going to have the positive game script in there.
But you don't need the positive game script with Ramondre. Here's the thing. All right, I look at it like this. If they can't get the ball down the field, they're going to have to get him more involved in the passing game. If they're chasing points, he's going to be involved in the passing game chasing points. He is also an actual good running back. Like, he's good at football. And he is their best skill position player.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick, as much as I hate him to my core, is not stupid. And at some point will be like, hey, Bill, could you get our best player the ball just a little more? Yeah. And Bill will go, yeah, that makes sense. Sure thing, buddy.
He will go, of course, evil Lord Sith. I'll get right on that.
Precisely.
Next, not real.
Yeah. This is going to be an unpopular take. Kyren Williams.
Oh man, it is. I love
I think they're gonna really regret trading away Cam Akers. And here's my thing. I like Kyren Williams. Like, the film at Notre Dame is good. He looked good the first 2 weeks, right? And last night, he already looked tired the second the game started. And the reason he already looked tired is because you gave him 300 touches, and I weigh more than him.
Yeah.
And you can't do that to that kind of a back for a whole year. He wasn't even a bell cow back in college. Right. He can't be. So listen, if they're scheming some crazy shit up and they're going to go trade for Jonathan Taylor, or they're going to go trade for Derrick Henry, or they're going to go make some kind of a move, which honestly, maybe they should, fine, whatever. But Kyren Williams is a great third down back, or a great share the load back, or even a really good 60% of the workload back. If you give, this applies to DeAndre Swift too. If you give certain guys a 96% of the carries and touches workload, right, they're gonna die. Kyren Williams is gonna die if you keep this up.
Yeah. And to be a little bit fair to McVay, like, he ran the ball 10 times in this game, and they tried to get him involved in the passing game on the outside, where he's a lot less likely to obviously get crushed.
Sure.
And Matt Stafford couldn't hit the broad side of a barn. Like, he couldn't hit the water with oceans. What's that saying? He couldn't hit the water if he fell in the ocean. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Man, sorry, Grandpa. And as the lead goal line back, I think that's going to be problems. I think I'm holding on to Cam Akers, by the way. And
dude, I didn't drop him. I didn't drop him.
You hold on to him moving forward. So that's disappointing to hear about Kyren Williams, but I think it's a sharp sort of take in the sense.
I want to specify here. People are looking at him as an RB1 because that's what he was weeks 1 and 2. Yeah. He's going to be flex worthy the entire year at the very least, right? And my guess is he winds up as an RB2 on volume if he stays healthy.
Was he worth $30 on a
yes, on a pick? Absolutely. Okay. Especially if you did it. Listen, especially if you did it week 1. Yeah, absolutely.
I got it for $27. So
yeah, 100% worth it. 100% worth it.
And spend more. I'm starting him at a flex, but now I'm actually probably gonna have to rely on him a bit more, because I don't know if you heard Nick Chubb's spaghetti knee really cost me in that league, but. Do we have any more not reals? I love you, Nick Chubb. I did not mean that. I really love you.
Yeah, I'm happy for him that it sounds like his career may not, in fact, be all the way over.
Precisely.
But yeah, that was I mean, his season is for sure done,
dude. If he comes back and he's Willis McGahee, and great, like, Willis McGahee on the Ravens, and that's what Nick Chubb can be the rest of his career. Wonderful. I think that's fine.
Dude, yeah, he'll make another $12 million in his life, which would be really nice for him, which he deserves because he's awesome.
Yeah.
Another not real.
Or
Kirk Cousins is not a top 3 quarterback. Kirk Cousins is not going to be a top 3 quarterback.
Right. Well, flying off the top rope over here with that take.
I mean, look, he's not going to be a top 3 quarterback. He'll be a low end QB1, maybe even a middle of the pack QB1, right? but he's not going to give you 30 points every week. Like he's not gonna.
I have him in a league that I'm comfortably the number one team in the league right now. And thank you for Raheem Mostert. And to be fair to me, I'm only even starting Raheem because Austin Eckler can't get back on the field. So like this team is still
sure.
Anyway, more importantly, every week that I look up and I'm like, well, I mean, we're starting Kirk Cousins again. And I'm like, well, great. Like, look at this matchup I get every week with him. It doesn't get that hard.
No, and the defense is going to maintain being terrible. The defense will continue to suck.
And on top of that, like he's got more weapons than he's ever had in Minnesota. And on top with Hawkinson and Addison. And on top of that, not to mention, by the way, literally historically, the best wide receiver through the first 3 weeks of the season in Justin Jefferson. With how many
most yards for
yards, right?
3 weeks. Yeah.
Yep. So like that's not going to stop, but there's going to be a few weeks that maybe you go, I can see why it might be better to sit him against this team than that team, but they're going to give up yards. There's going to be positive or at least neutral game scripts for the entire season for him. And honestly, he might get traded to the Jets, and then he's got a bunch of weapons there as well.
It's funny you said that. So like I proposed to like my little Jets, group chat, a pipe dream, which is the Jets trade Zach Wilson to facilitate the Vikings taking for Caleb Williams, Bryce Huff, their next 2 first-round picks and a third rounder in 2025 for Cousins and Jefferson, because the Vikings are not going to pay him. And Jefferson's not going to be on the Vikings in a couple of years.
Fair. So it's going to be a wild bidding process for him, for sure. Can we get into some breakouts? Because I also wanted to talk about like 2 quick sort of early quarter of the season, not even fifth of the season awards.
Sure. So Jaylen Warren. Jaylen Warren looks like he's good at football, as he has done since he was drafted.
So why was he still not getting the ball enough last week?
Because Najee Harris was drafted in the first round.
I hate that. Who's the next guy? That's so annoying.
Zay Flowers.
Okay.
Yeah, we want deeper targets. I get it. We do. We want deeper targets. Yep. Do you know what I like the most though? Just a crazy volume of targets, because it only takes 1 for that dude to break it. And if he keeps getting 10 targets every game, I promise you he's finishing as a top 15 wide receiver when it's all said and done.
That's fair. He needs to get and it's wild that in the red zone he has 5 catches for -6 yards. That is absolutely
Yeah, it is super interesting to me, the play calling that's going on over there. But also, look, it's a wildly different system than Lamar's ever run.
Yeah.
And look, you're seeing some similar things like in Philadelphia. The play calling and execution has been terrible.
Agreed.
Right?
I mean, yeah, the big winner, Shane Steichen, he's filthy. But I think the other thing that bothers me, dude, is just like what I'm seeing from Monken in the play calling. Like if different means we don't throw Mark Andrews the ball in between the 20s, I don't like that. And if different means also that like we don't trust Lamar to have the ball in his hands on short yardage plays to close a game out, I don't like that. I think that's why they lost in Indianapolis, aside from more poor refereeing.
I was going to say, you mean besides the wild missed face mask and the obscene, I'm just going to tackle Zay Flowers on 4th and 3 before the ball gets
those 2 things, yes, because they wouldn't have been in the latter of those positions if they just closed the game. So,
well, that's true. They also wouldn't have been in that position if they called the face mask. The game would already been over also.
And if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle. So that's fair too.
Well, actually, it's 2023. I don't even know if that phrase applies anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever.
Be careful about it. You're going to get yourself canceled from your own podcast.
Already, dude. It's been not that long. I can't get canceled already. All right. Any more breakouts? Because I have 2 awards I want you to give out.
Yeah. CJ Stroud.
Oh, yeah.
CJ Stroud is fully legit. We already talked about him in relation to being real. So Stroud. And then the other one for a breakout. It probably is going to take a couple more weeks for people, and specifically for the Chargers, to remember that Josh Palmer is just not it. Quentin Johnston, first-round wide receivers tend to pop. They tend to pop later in the year. Give Josh Palmer a couple of weeks of being Josh Palmer, and they'll be like, we should probably let the first-rounder play because he's still Josh Palmer.
And you don't see any discrepancies where it's like, okay, if you need to go for the home run, for instance, you take Quentin Johnson, who has a higher ceiling than Palmer, but Palmer's going to get the bulk of the targets early, or not even, because Mikey Williams is out for the season. So you just wait for the better player to get to reach his potential.
You are up shit's creek if you are starting Josh Palmer out of desperation anyway.
Fair.
So at that point, I would honestly still go with Johnson and hope the breakout happens sooner rather than later, or pray you happen to be in a keeper league. Okay. Because, dude, I had Josh Palmer. I drafted Josh Palmer last year. I've been a Josh Palmer stan since he was drafted. And he had every opportunity to do the thing last year, and he just didn't do the thing. And I expect him to continue to not do the thing.
Yep, that's fair. I do like the Quentin Johnson pickup. I just paused because I literally just went and bid for him while we were talking, because I realized that would be helpful. So let me close things out with the two things I want to talk to you about. One is, this is your fault for drafting him.
Yep.
And that means that you've got a player that
should have known better.
Doesn't even look like they're going to sniff the ceiling that you draft where you drafted them. You already told me who that award is.
Oh yeah, it's very clear. It's obviously Najee Harris. Yeah. Like, the other candidate here would be Justin Fields, but there was every reason to believe he could take the step forward. Najee.
The two rivals to Najee would be, to me, Drake London and Kyle Pitts.
So I guess here's the difference for me. I mean, Najee Harris had much higher draft capital expended on him in most cases than either of those guys.
Okay.
But yeah, listen, if you want to throw those guys in there, I'll just throw any pass catcher that plays for Arthur Smith. This is your fault. Yeah. You drafted them knowing who the head coach is. This is on you. You didn't even have to know the quarterback was Desmond Ridder. This is on you. Right. Najee Harris. In his elite fantasy season as a rookie, he averaged less than 4 yards a carry. Now, I had him that season because I understood Big Ben can't throw. He's going to get 1,000% of the work. And he caught 600 balls. And it was glorious for PPR. But he didn't look good doing it.
Yeah.
Last year, I think people got a little confused about what Najee was, because the first half of the year he was injured, he was terrible. Second half of the year, he was like RB4, RB5, something like that.
Yeah. So that's tough.
But he still wasn't good, though. It was still nothing but volume.
Yeah.
Some lucky touchdowns. Like, you could just tell he didn't look explosive. And you could tell Jaylen Warren does look explosive, right?
Jaylen Warren, the new Tony Pollard award for, which we keep talking about, like
100%
playing ahead of me, just got drafted in the first round, and now I don't get to play as a result, which is silly. And now we're seeing how that's working out everywhere. So
yeah, but Tomlin doesn't play that shit for too long.
Hopefully,
like at a certain point, Tomlin's going to be like, I need my running game to work because I'm Mike Tomlin.
Fair, and they have to, yeah, and
that's why I like him for a breakout. At some point, he's just gonna have to get more of the way.
I think a breakout for him, just to be just a little bit temper it a little bit, is 12 carries and like 6 or 7 targets. I still think that's going to be near the ceiling.
Dude, if Jaylen Warren is getting you 6 or 7 targets,
yeah,
that is the math in PPR anyway. That's the mathematical equivalent of 15 to 17 and a half rushing attempts. So if you're telling me you think he's getting 10 carries and 6 targets?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The ceiling for him is even as...
Okay, so let me ask you this. How many running backs have a higher ceiling than the equivalent of 25 carries in a game at this point?
Oh, well, nobody.
I mean, there's a couple maybe.
Because McCaffrey's getting the reception.
Yeah, as Ballard's getting a bunch of targets, but...
Anybody getting 25 carries total? Nobody.
But I mean, like, if you're ranking total opportunity, 10 carries, 6 targets, that's an RB1 level of opportunity on a consistent basis.
Fair.
All right. So
that's your fault for drafting him. I agree with Najee. I'm also going to go with Kyle Pitts and Drake London, because I was also screaming from the rafters alongside you. Hey, don't draft a pass catcher from the Atlanta Falcons.
No, dude, this is why I think we said if you can sell Drake London after the one of the 3 good games he'll have this year, I mean, dude, sell Kyle Pitts right now if you can.
Yeah, of course. Who is that could also be called the they are who we thought they were.
The Dennis Green award. All right, awesome.
Who is currently saving seasons and every owner of this guy is looking at him going like, if I didn't have you, I'm probably be owned.
Okay, so I think the guys you look at for this award are the ones that you didn't draft early. You know what I mean? Mike Evans, who is going in the 6th to 8th round, as much as I'm shitting on Mike Evans' long-term prospects, he's absolutely saving your ass. If he was a 7th round pick and he's your wide receiver 3, the kind of production you're getting has elevated your ceiling in absurd amount.
Counter to that would be is if you drafted a running back high and let's say you got 2 running backs in your first 3 or 4 picks, and Mike Evans came to you in a situation where he's now your wide receiver 1. It's like the reason that might look like trash is because a lot of those top running backs that you would have picked are hurt.
Well, okay, so that's fair, but let's assume his ADP of the 7th round, which is roughly where he was going most places. If you didn't pick a wide receiver till the 7th round, fucking kill yourself. It's inexcusable.
Hand me your money. I'll burn it on fire for you.
Dude, you want to tell me you didn't take a running back till the 7th round? I'll tell you fucked up a little bit, but I could go to bat for, I have 3 elite wide receivers and Josh Allen on my team. Yeah. All right, fine. Or like you went Kelsey in the 1st round and then just hammered wide. Fine. There's no such thing as a 0 wide receiver strategy. Yeah, it doesn't exist.
Fair. Dumb question for that point. I mean, I think the other easy answer is...
Yeah, it is. Right? It is Raheem Mostert. And they're also my 2 favorite sell high candidates. Yeah. They have outperformed an absurd amount, right? And... I just found out that A-Chain's last name is pronounced A-Chan, which I don't like, but I'm going to attempt to do it. Yeah, I'm not a fan, but I'm going to attempt to do it.
Having Chain in your last name is way cooler.
Well, this is like when Jalen Waddle was like, my last name's Waddell, and everyone was like, the fuck it is. Your name's Jalen Waddle, bro.
Yeah. This is so good. His mama called him Clay. I'm going to call him Clay, though. But also at the same time, Raheem Mostert, is there not a case to be made for having Jeff Wilson comes back? Who eats the least at that point? And regardless, you're going to want a piece of the Dolphins' offense. This is the offense that you're like, I just want a player on this team every week.
Yes, that's absolutely true. You do want a player every week. Take into consideration, though, right? Look at Mostert's production so far. Really good the first 2 weeks. No Jeff Wilson, no A-Chain, right? Okay. Week 3. He had a great week and got outperformed by A-Chain because they scored 10 goddamn touchdowns.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Jeff Wilson, it's gonna be like, Jeff Wilson has always been the preferred back over Mostert when they're both healthy. Now, I don't know how you get away from hot hand here, and Mostert has managed to play in like 21 straight games. Which is roughly 19 more consecutive games than his previous longest streak as a pro, right? Yeah. So he's 31, but his legs aren't 31. He doesn't have 31 years of carries on him, right? But A-Chain was drafted for a reason, right? When Wilson comes back, I think it's going to be something like a 40-30-30 split or a 50-30-20 split. I'm not saying Mostert's not going to be valuable, but what I am saying is you could probably turn Mostert into like Mixon and a piece right now.
Yeah.
Like Mostert is what, the RB1?
Yeah.
After this week, he's got to be.
He's a top 5. Yeah.
I mean, dude, no. I think he's number 1 after this. Dude, A-Chain is the top 12 back.
Do you know who number 1 after 1? How silly is that? Do you know who number 1 in full PPR leagues is though?
Number 1 in full PPR,
of all positions.
Oh, well, with Keenan Allen. Yeah, that will retain once Eckler comes back.
Yeah.
So the reason I left him off not real is because I don't know when Eckler's coming back, and he's gonna continue to tear shit up until Eckler comes back or he dies. He will die at some point. It's gonna happen.
It's why I didn't draft him, and I'm still not kicking myself for not drafting him because he was he's got to be the guy who was there the longest of any like, legitimately tiered player. Like Keenan Allen was there way too long. He was next to like Marquise Brown still around.
Okay, so that's fucking crazy. If we're talking full PPR, like I've never been a Keenan Allen guy. Like I've never been a believer.
You're a believer in his ability to play wide receiver. He's incredible when he's actually on the field.
Incredible when he's not a classic alpha, but he's great at what he does.
That's what I'm saying. He is a walking 9-yard reception.
And that's the thing. He doesn't beat you at every level of the field.
Right? Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. And it sucks that they don't have Mikey Williams to take the top off now.
If you traded Njoku for Quentin Johnston after week 1. So it's okay with me. I don't root for injury. I feel bad for the guy, but Mike Williams going out for the year. Who could have seen that coming? I mean,
the saddest part about it all to me was I was watching that game. He made one of the nastiest catches down the sideline where he like just started like dragging his body on his back and like sliding backwards as the ball was coming to him and scooped it up before it hit the ground. And then he stayed down for a minute. And I was like, no, of course it happens on a play where he makes a nice catch. Oh,
it always does.
And he came down.
Does.
And then 25 minutes later, he was out again. And then he was
so there's a dude on the Fantasy Footballers podcast, Mike Wright, who I have heard say on many occasions about Mike Williams. He falls harder than anyone I've ever seen play football. He goes up for the ball, and there is zero bracing. He just like hugs the ball, and all of his body weight just slams right through his spinal column every time he lands.
I see him catching the ball and falling backwards and just being like, God will get me.
Yeah. Like, Jesus, take the wheel. And it's like, dude, there's other games on right now. Like, he's not mostly watching you, buddy. Dude, like, all right, look, I'll compare this to the Mike Evans one-hander. Yeah. Dude was like bent halfway backwards, landed on his feet, bent his knees, and tried not to die when he hit the ground. And wouldn't you know it, he didn't die when he hit the ground.
I know. This is where all Philadelphia 76ers fans want Joel Embiid to go for a full like year. It's just like how to fall school. And I do think there's something to it. I mean, quarterbacks started learning how to slide from baseball players. I remember Eli Manning was like being sent to learn how to slide at like Yankee Stadium because he couldn't fall over without fumbling the ball.
Can I tell you my favorite trying to learn how to slide story in NFL history?
Yeah.
So Michael Vick very famously could not slide. He never figured it out, which is incredible because he's a kid from the South and an unbelievable athlete.
Right.
They brought in Terry Pendleton from the old school Braves to teach this man how to slide. And after about a day, the dude was like, yo, your boy can't slide. I'm out. Like, it was all done. Like, I'm sorry, you can't slide. It's never happening. And Mike was like, it's cool. I didn't really want to anyway. That's fine. Thank you. I appreciate your time, sir.
You know what? He's like, I'll just have to like make split guys and have them run into each other as a ways to not slide because it ain't happening. And I'll just be holding this ball like a loaf of bread the whole time. But
yeah.
Anyway, man, I think that's all the time we got for this one. I think we got plenty of good stuff in there. I love that there's some consistency between who you're still not riding with moving forward. Like Mike Evans and Raheem Mostert, we talked about them before week 3. They both had one good and one historic week 3. And it doesn't matter because it was still a matchups-based thing. And when you find the right opportunity, it's not like we're saying sell guys for nothing. It's just get them at their peak if you know that takes, I don't even want to say balls. It just takes a level of like confidence and lack of regret moving forward.
Well, it's tough, dude, because the guys you want to sell high on are typically the guys that have outperformed and in a year like this year are saving your ass through 3 weeks, right? So, like, if you're lucky enough to be 3-0 and you have Evans, and let's say you took a shot on Cooper Kupp and you have Evans, right? And he's been your de facto one.
Yep.
And you think you can stomach maybe a loss without him and pull a good player, right? Who's maybe underperforming, right? Like, if you had gone out and tried to turn Mike Evans and a piece into Jamar Chase last week, you'd be very happy right now that you did it, even though Mike Evans had a perfectly solid game, right? So, like, there's certain guys you know are going to get right. Like, dude, if you can go buy low on Calvin Ridley, go buy low on Calvin Ridley. Like
Yeah.
the Jaguars look like ass,
They do.
but they're not going to look like ass every game.
Not every
To
game.
that degree.
It's still got to too many people might take you too literally and not understand that buying low on Calvin Ridley right now doesn't mean giving up, say, Mike Evans for Calvin Ridley. I don't see that as buying low on Calvin Ridley at all.
I would.
I think you still have more belief in the blonde locks of Trevor Lawrence than I do.
No, so I mean that's an interesting one because Ridley's also banged up. If Ridley was 100% healthy right now, and I had Mike Evans, I would trade him straight up for Calvin Ridley. But he's not 100% healthy, so I don't think that you can do that. But a Calvin Ridley owner may very well be 1-2 or 0-3 right now, right? So if you can get Ridley and a piece for Mike Evans somehow, absolutely do that. And go blow a bunch of fab on H8. Like not all of it, but a lot of it. And last thing, Luke Musgrave. If you're desperate for a tight end, you really need one. This dude's out there all the time. Yeah. He is as involved as Sam Laporta. He just hasn't punched it in the end zone. And dude, he should have had a 40, 50-yard touchdown. Jordan Love sailed it on him just a tick. Like, people would be blowing their load on Musgrave with fab this week if that was a touchdown.
I feel it.
So go get him. I think he might be leading all tight ends in air yards right now.
Impressive.
He was after week 2. He was after week 2.
That's good stuff.
So
I appreciate the time. I'm going to get us out of here.
All right, brother.
I'm going to get it up for everybody. I'm going to try to rope you in next week. I'm sure I'll be able to like make you steal away for a little bit, get you back on here, talk about some week.
Do what I can do.
All right. Appreciate you, man. Until we do, talk to y'all next. Happy betting.